Welcome to Land House. I'm Seth Johnson. I have some storage shelves here in my workshop that I need access to. So in this video, I am building this red oak wooden ladder. So if you're interested in having a ladder for your shop, then continue watching. To get started on this ladder build, I've got a red oak board that is 8 foot long. Got this from my local lumber yard. I recommend you use a hardwood because you don't want to use pine or some other softwood to step on because it may break. The first step is to take this red oak board and cut it into 3 equal strips. In this case, I'm using approximately 3 inches. 2 of these will be used as the rails, the side pieces, and the middle strip will be used for making all of the ladder rungs. Now that I have the oak board cut into 3 strips, I need to make the ladder rungs. These are going to be 13 3/4 inch long, and I need 6 of them total. And the last piece is going to be smaller, and I've got this at the same 13 3/4, but it's 2 inches instead of 2 1/2. So this smaller piece is going to be the very top where you're going to have more of a handhold. Here's what we have so far. The 2 side rails, and we have 6 of the rungs cut, and then 1 that is a little bit smaller. So now it's time to take the sander and get all of these sanded down so they're nice and smooth. When using the sander, I highly recommend safety gear. You may not look very cool, but these fine particles can wreak havoc on your lungs and eyes, so wear safety gear. After sanding for what seems like an eternity, I now have all the steps done. They are very smooth here. And I also have the 2 side runners. They are finished and sanded. Now, you'll notice there's going to be an angle cut down here on the bottom. And that's going to be the most interesting cut here. So first, what I'd like to do is attach the top hardware. It's going to be these right here, so that I can appropriately find the angle that I'm going to be using. So let's attach these hooks first. I've used clamps to hold everything together here, and I've marked the center point on these 2 board ends. So now I just want to use my pen. I'm going to come back approximately a 1/2 inch from the top. I'm just going to mark out where I want to make the holes for this. Okay, I'm going to be using a 5/16 drill bit because I want these 1/4 inch bolts to go through here, and that's going to hold everything into place. So let's go ahead and make this hole here. Now with those holes drilled in there, I'm going to place this piece here and get these bolts stuck down in there like that. And then just going to use some washers and locking nuts here on the back side. I now have the hooks installed. I'll have to come back later with some shorter hardware here. But see how it is sitting on the pole there? So I come down to the bottom, and this board is actually a little bit warped and also curved here. So it's not going to be quite the same, which is sad, but I can still work with it. Now I'm going to add a little block here to be the foot of the ladder, and that's actually going to continue to bring the ladder out another couple of inches, which is really great. So to find the angle down here that I want, I'm going to take a piece of plywood and I'm going to mark a line down here to find the angle that I need. So just taking this piece of plywood, set it up against the bottom of the ladder, and I want to transfer this line right here. And that's going to be the angle I have to cut to get this even here. Move you around so you can watch on this side as well. Just place this here and transfer that line. There we go. I have a couple of feet cut out here. I just set the wood up to the end of the ladder and got those measurements. So I want to have a couple of screws in here to hold this onto the ladder. Just going to pre-drill to make sure there's no issue with tearing out. Okay. I'm also going to use this little piece here, which will allow me to recess the screws when they're installed. Let me show you what that does real quick. So the little foot here goes on the end. Just going to attach these with some 3-inch screws. There we go with the little feet on the end. Ladder comes up and attaches up top. I think that's going to be a pretty good angle for feeling comfortable while climbing up. So now it's time to get the rest of this thing put together. It's time to actually get the rungs installed. I've been thinking about how to do that. So I have everything clamped down where I want it. And what I'm going to do is take my square and a pencil or pen and mark one line across the front where I want these steps to be. So for instance, if I'm going to come up about a foot here, then I'll mark and then move up accordingly for all the steps, including that top piece that is going to be used more for a handhold. And then we're going to take the ladder apart, and I think I'm going to go ahead and assemble it with just the slats, the steps coming in between here, and position them at the right angle, lock it back down, and then use the Japanese pull saw to cut in those groove places. So anyway, let's see how well this is going to work. With everything still locked down where I want it, I'm going to go from the bottom down here, and at the first 1 foot mark, which is right here, I'm just going to place a mark. Then I can come back with my square and go over both pieces so that it can be marked evenly. Like that. And now I'm going to just continue down here, so moving up to the next 1 foot mark. Like that. And I'm just going to continue all the way down until I get to the top. And I may actually extend a little further up on the handle. So we'll get to that point in just a minute. Okay, here's what I've done. Because I only have 6 steps and then the final handle for the top, I have stopped the last real step at 5 foot. Then I have at 80 inches, I have another step just for support of the ladder. And then up here at the very top, let's see, it's about 5 inches from the top. I've got that handle. So this space in between here won't really be a step, but that puts my head at the top of the shop anyway with 5 feet down here. So anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the next step. I've got all of the steps installed into the ladder, and I've got these clamps on here to hold them all into place. My thought is I can set this up onto the wall and then use a level to turn them so that it's level. We'll see how well that works. See if I can go ahead and get this turned up here to work. I have it set up into place where I want it. So I'm going to start turning each step with a level to find out exactly where I want it, and then I'm going to mark that step so that it's easy to cut. Let's just start here and give this one a try. So I'm going to try and keep the front edge lined up with the line that I previously made. See how well that works. And I can tap this back into place later, forwards or backwards. I just want to get a line for now. This is what I'm looking for right here, is in this direction. I want it to be pretty well level. So it looks like right about there. I'm going to take my pen and just mark there and there. And that should do it. Now I can move on to the next one and just keep doing it like that. One thing I forgot to mention before is that I need to have both sides of the step marked. So went ahead and did that. So as you can see here, it's got both sides. Now I was thinking the best way to get this cut down would be either the Japanese pull saw like I mentioned before and then chisel out this, or I could use the circular saw to cut those grooves and then use the router in between there at a known depth. So, and also because this is such a short distance here, I think I can get the router on here pretty quick and easy. So let's try it both ways. I think I'm gonna do the router first with the skill saw or the circular saw, and then try one with the chisel and the Japanese pull saw. So let's get to it. Because my boards here are 1 1/4 inches, I'm gonna do a 1/2 inch cut. So I've got my circular saw cut to a 1/2 inch. And now I just need to follow my line here and see how well this works. There's that. Now I need to see about using the router to cut that out between there. I have the stop on my router set up for a 1/4 inch, so we'll cut that first and then move down to the full 1/2 inch. That's actually a very smooth way of doing this. Looks quite nice. Now I need to actually come in a little bit when I cut my original cut because there's a little gap in here. Maybe a little hard to see, but I just come in just a little bit and I can see where I'm off right there. But anyway, that's how I'm going to do it, I believe, because it seems to be pretty quick and painless. Previously I built a ladder and I tried to use the router to make this edge, and it was not very good. So using the saw first is certainly the way to go. I'm going to zip through these, get these cuts made, and we will move on to the next step. I finished all the cutting and routing and then did a little sanding on those cut edges, and now I'm doing a dry fit to see how well this is working. I have to say I'm liking the results so far. Now it's time to move on to getting this thing together, and there's going to be wood glue in the joints here, but also I'm going to have these threaded rod with these, I forget if they're called barrel nuts or whatever they are, but it's got threads there, and this will just go along the outside here, you know, let's see, just 1 inch or 2 below each step, and it'll be sunk in there and threaded together with the threaded rod. Anyway, so that'll keep that thing really nice and strong. So I'm going to cut these actually a little bit shorter than this one here, so that they will be able to fit in here just nicely. I'm using the angle grinder with a cutoff disc to get 7 of these thread rods at 15 inches. Hopefully now I can take this nut and thread it on here. I may have to touch this up a little bit with some sandpaper to smooth it out some. Yep, okay, I'll be able to get that started now. Okay, I've got the Forstner bit here in the drill. Now what I want to do is remove the top rail here from my dry fitting. So hopefully my boards don't go flying off here. Oh, there's one. Okay, I'm going to flip this over, and it's time to put holes in here for those all thread to go in. Now I've numbered all my pieces so I know where they go. Should be quite helpful. Okay, so I'm going to use my square here, and I want to find the midpoint of the ladder and also come down from that piece by about an inch. Got my square set up to match the midpoint here. So I'm going to go do there, and then I want to come down from that midpoint by 1 inch. Okay, and I'm going to do that on each and every one of these. So go on this one by a middle point, and then by 1 inch. And that's going to be the point where I drill into this for those metal rods. The reason I'm using the Forstner bit is because I don't want this to bust through the wood with a regular bit. I'm just going to go far enough to keep this from popping out, and I'll use a regular bit after that. Okay, I think that should do it. It's just enough of a recess not to come out of the wood there. So I'm gonna hit all of these the same way. Okay, now that I have those Forstner bit holes in there, I know exactly where the midpoint is. I'm just going to drill in through here with a 3/8 inch bit. There we go. And there's a little tear out on the back, but the sleeve of this nut here should cover that quite nice. So I just touch it up with a little sandpaper, and then when that goes in there, it should hide things quite nicely. So I'm going to go down the line here and finish putting these holes in, and it'll be time to get this thing assembled. Okay, now for the moment we've all been waiting for. Time to get this thing put together. Got some tight bond wood glue here. I'm going to plop this down into this track over here. Just make sure I get a decent little coverage. And once that's in there, I'm going to find my number 1 piece. That's 3, 2, 4. There we go, number 1 piece. Get that started in here. Okay, and I'm just going to work down the line until I've got them all in here. This one's a little bit on the tight side. May have to tap it a little bit with a hammer. Yeah, I'm afraid I will. Now I'm going to use the wood glue here on the top of each step. Hopefully I'm done with that. Now, probably going to smear some of this, but let's try and get it flipped over here and into the right position on each one of these. I think I'm going to set a couple of clamps on here to make sure it's in the right spot. And then we'll start putting that all thread through here. Okay, I'm going to take a piece of all thread, stick it down here into the holes, match it up with a corresponding nut down below, tighten that up, and then this top piece here will go into the top. And now I need to find a couple of Allen wrenches to make sure this is fully tightened down here. I'm going to tighten this down just enough to make it snug, and then I can do some fine-tune adjustments in a bit. Okay, move on to the next one until all of these are done. Just using this clamp down here to make sure it doesn't fall off the table while I'm working. And there we go. The ladder is up against the side of the shop and doing well. I've got a lot of tension on these pieces. They kind of sing when you touch them. So hopefully that will definitely keep things locked into place. Now before the glue totally dries or cures, I want to step on these steps and maybe pack them down to the base. So let's try that real quick. All right, hopefully this holds me up. That step didn't move at all. That step didn't move. Still doing good here. Very nice. I'm all the way up to the top and still have one more step I could use. I'm going to go ahead and use that one just to push down on it. Alright, there we go. Coming back down. There's been zero movement. I expect whenever the wood glue dries, it'll be 100% solid there. I like it. Nice. It's not 100% even. One of my legs is a little bit off, but the board was definitely warped whenever I got it. So I like it. Much better than the ladder I was using. So there's one more thing we got to do, and that is install hooks here, like this, so that I can store this over here out of the way. So let's see how we're going to do that real quick. When not in use, I want the ladder to be able to store here on this side. And so what I'd like to do is put these little hooks into this step right here, just somewhere close to the edge, and that will allow it to hook around that bar there. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's come into about, I think, 3 inches. And then 3 inches on this side. Okay, and that means there's a distance between about 9.5 inches there. Should be more than enough. I put some tape around my drill to know when I need to stop here for this screw piece. Okay, let's see how this thing does. Let's pop it up here, set it down, and let it hang. So, hangs probably a good 1.5 feet or so off the floor. Comes up here, and definitely not going to be falling off on its own there with those hooks. Man, I like that a lot. Just gets it out of the way, so I have plenty of space here to work with. So let's see how easy it is to get off of there and put up. So let's say that I need to access this gas canister up here. So let me get the ladder, pop it off of there, set it up here. I'm not sure the glue is totally cured yet, but man, just pop right up there. Get your gas canister and come on down. I like it. I like it a lot. Whenever I'm done, pop it off there. Come over here. And done. This is the second ladder I've made with this style, and I do say that I have improved with my technique by using the circular saw and then the router. Whenever I was trying to just use the router, I was having to set up these stop blocks, and I would kick out of the groove there and it would look ugly. So much better to have the straight line first with the saw and then route up to that line. Now if you were to use, say, a Japanese pool saw like I thought I was going to do, you could keep your step in place and saw next to it, and I think that would give you an even finer tolerance than what I've got, but this is still pretty good. If you have found this build helpful, hit that thumbs up, and if you would share this video on your Facebook and all the other places that you share videos, I would greatly appreciate that. It helps the channel grow. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.